Good afternoon. Welcome to Dose of Reality with Shukri. I am going to be talking about voting today. Are we excited about that? Ginny is all the way from Hennepin County, and she's going to be helping us figure out how we are going to vote, especially with the pandemic of COVID-19 and how we're going to be safe. We have a couple of questions that we're going to be asking Jenny. Welcome, Jenny, to Dose of Reality once again.
Thank you, Shukri. It's good to see you again.
You too, Jenny. So tell us a little bit. Have you been having a lot of questions about the voting part?
We have. People are very excited about voting this year. So we've had a lot of people calling. We've had a lot of people stopping in to vote early. We've had a lot of people voting through the mail. So yes, we've been getting a lot of questions this year.
Great. So, I mean, there's a lot of confusion, I guess. Valerie, can you hear me pretty well? Okay. All right. So, due to COVID-19, we decided to have Ginny all the way from Hennepin County to talk about how we're going to vote and how we're going to go about it and being safe at the same time. You know, voting is important, especially this year. So, due to COVID-19, how will voters go about it? How will they go about it?
Great question. Thank you, Shukri. And I want to say just overall, we have done everything that we can to make the voting as safe as possible, both for people voting and for the people who are working in the polling place. So a couple of things. The very first thing actually is that we've asked people to vote through the mail if you can, because that's going to be the safest way. If you apply for an absentee ballot and we can mail it to you at your home, you can vote it from home. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't even have to put on a mask. You can just fill that ballot out, put it back in the mail, send it back to us. You have to make sure that it is postmarked by Election Day. Normally, we have to receive those ballots in the mail by Election Day, but this year special because of the pandemic, a court has said we can accept ballots and we will accept ballots for a week after Election Day, but it still has to be postmarked by Election Day. So that's very key. You have to give yourself enough time to apply for the ballot, to get it in the mail, fill it out, send it back to us, have it postmarked by Election Day. And for all of the things I'm about to say, all of this information is also available online, so you don't have to remember it all. If you want to go look it up, the best place to do that is the Secretary of State's website, which is mnvotes.org. So that's number one, would be vote through the mail if you can. Number two, if you do decide that you want to vote in person, say you can do that early. Right now, you can come. We have a number of sites open where you can come vote early in person, or if you want to vote on Election Day in person, you will want to wear a mask. Everybody is required to wear a mask. You will want to maintain 6 feet of distance in between you and any other voters who are in line. And when you get into your polling place, you will see we'll have hand sanitizer. We'll have space in between the different stations where the workers are and where the voters are, so that there's enough distance in between people. We are keeping the polling places very sanitized. We're wiping things down. So those are the kind of protocols to be aware of. The main thing is you want to make sure you have a mask. If you don't have a mask, or if you come to the polling place and you don't have a mask, we will offer one for you.
Okay, so that's an exciting news and very good information out there, especially for the community. There's so much question going on and no one knows how to go about it. So how will voter knows if their ballots by mail have been received or counted?
Great question, Shukri. I'm really glad you asked this because people are very concerned and want to make sure that their ballot has gotten to us. You've heard a lot in the mail about the post office, and so there's a lot of questions and confusion about this. The best way to check and watch your ballot make its way through the system is online. So there is a portal online. Again, that's mnvotes.org. You can go to that website, you put in your name and your identification information, and it will bring up your record, and you can see, okay, they've accepted my application and they mailed me the ballot on this date. And then when you get the ballot, so you know it's in the mail to you, when you get the ballot and you send it back, you can check on there. You can check on a daily basis, and it will say, okay, on this date, Hennepin County got the mail with your ballot in it on this date, and it has been accepted on this date, and we're going to count it. So you can watch that whole process online. Now, one thing to know about that is that when you do the online lookup, it's about a day behind. So there's like a 1 day delay of getting that information online. So you know, you need to give it a little bit of time to catch up to reality, but that is the best way to check. And then also, if you have any questions, you can call our office or the city clerk's office where you live, and they can help you too.
Okay, so is there a code that people have to use to, like, when they're checking it online? Will there be a code given to them by the mail postal office?
So it is not a code given to you by the postal office. So it's not tracking like when you receive a package from a retailer that you bought something like that. It's not quite like that. What it is you go in and you put in your name, your date of birth, and the identification number that you provided when you applied for the ballot. So that's going to be either your last four of your social security number or your driver's license number. Now, you want to remember when you apply for an absentee ballot, which of those two numbers you decide to use. In fact, we recommend using both of them. So that way we have both. But if you choose to only use one, that's fine. Just remember which one it is. Because when you fill out that envelope, when we send you the ballot and you have to fill out that envelope and send it back to us, you need to provide that same ID number. So sometimes the thing that happens is people provide, say, their social security number when they apply for the ballot, and then when they return the ballot, they only provide their driver's license number, and then that's a mismatch, and that will cause your ballot to get rejected, and we have to send you a new ballot. So make sure to remember which identification number you use, and use the same one when you're sending that ballot back.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much. That's a great detail out there. Just a quick question. I'm excited about this part. Drive-through. Does Minnesota have that? Voting drive-through.
Yes. Now, we don't have, it's not the full voting drive-through, but what we do have is if you get your ballot delivered to you in the mail, we do have several locations where you can drive through to drop that ballot off. So you've voted it at home, it's all sealed up in the envelope, and say you don't feel comfortable putting it in the mail, you want to hand it to an elections worker, you can do that in Hennepin County. We have a location at 625, it's 625 South 4th Avenue is the Hennepin County drive-through ballot drop-off. Anybody who lives in Hennepin County can drop their ballot off at that location. And we're open regular business hours, but we have additional hours next Saturday and the Saturday after that. So the 2 Saturdays before Election Day, we're also open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on those days. So additional hours on the 2 Saturdays before the election.
So how long are you guys going to be open for?
So it depends on the day. We have our normal business hours are 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, but we're adding extra hours as we get closer to Election Day, and we're also adding those 2 Saturdays, the 2 Saturdays before Election Day. So the best place to know, the best place to look up the hours is at our website, our Hennepin County website, which is www.hennepin.us/elections. We have all of our hours on there and all of the locations that you can go to.
Oh, great. Tell me a little bit about identification when they're doing the voting. What do they need?
Yes. So if you are pre-registered to vote, which is to say you're already registered at the same address that you've lived at, you don't have to register new, and you don't have to change your registration. Correct. Then in Minnesota, the law is that you do not need to provide identification when you are voting in person at the polls. Now, you will, if you're voting early before Election Day, you still have to fill out an absentee ballot application. That's still considered an absentee ballot. And on that application, it will ask for your ID number. So you still have to provide a number on that application if you're voting early. That's not the same thing as showing your ID. You just have to provide the number, same as you would if you were voting through the mail. But if you vote on Election Day and you're pre-registered to vote, you do not have to bring identification if you are pre-registered. If you need to update your registration, or you are not registered and you need to register for the first time on Election Day, or when you go vote early, you do have to bring identification. And for most people, the identification that works the best is a current driver's license that has your current address on it. Now, some people don't have their current address on their driver's license, so you can do a combination of a driver's license and like a bill that has your current address on it. And we actually have a long list of identification that works to do that. And the best place to see the whole list that you can use is mnvotes.org.
Okay. And this applies only for U.S. citizens that can vote, just to be clear.
That's right. You do have to be a U.S. citizen in order to vote, and you do have to
Okay.
be at least 18 years old. You have to. There are a number of other eligible criteria. Obviously, in order to vote in Hennepin County, you have to live in Hennepin County. You have to live here, and you have to. You can't be currently serving a felony sentence.
Okay. And just to go back on one question that I asked before about the drive-through, will this drive-through be in every county or just specifically on Hennepin?
So the information I just gave you is specific to Hennepin. Different counties have different options available, though. Many counties are making a lot of ballot drop-off options available. So if you don't live in Hennepin County, I recommend that you go check out the website of your county auditor's office.
Okay, great. If I'm a criminal and I want to vote, and I'm a U.S. citizen, am I allowed to?
If you are someone.
Record?
If you have a criminal, it depends. If you are currently serving a felony sentence, then you are not eligible to vote. Now, what that means is you might be on probation, you might be on parole. If you're on probation or parole for a felony sentence, you're not eligible to vote.
Okay.
But if you had served time, or if you had been on probation or parole for a felony sentence and you've completed that sentence, so you are done, you are no longer on probation or parole, in Minnesota, you automatically get your right to vote back. So as long as you are no longer serving any felony sentence, you are eligible to vote.
Okay. So we are having a lot of issue on people to get their IDs right now due to COVID-19, and they're behind on that. What are other options for them besides just the ID? Even when they're doing the mailing ballots or absentees, what are the other options they have? Can they use, well, some people don't have passports.
Sure.
So if they don't have a passport, mail, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, probably. So if you do not have like a state issued ID, and as I said earlier, even if you do have, like, say, a driver's license that is not current, you can still use that. The two things that you're proving with the ID is that you are who you say you are and that you live where you say you live. So an expired driver's license, it proves who you are. It just doesn't prove where you live. So that's why you have to provide the bill with your address or something like that. Now, if you don't have a driver's license or a state ID or anything like that, then another common way to do the identification that you need to register is to use a voucher. And this is a process where somebody that you know, who personally knows you and who lives in your precinct, can vouch for you if they are pre-registered to vote. They're registered and they can say, I'm taking an oath that I know this person and I know that this person lives in this precinct. So that's another way that people can register if they do not have the ID that they need.
Okay. And just to be clear, when it comes to age, that should be 18 plus. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. So the person who vouches for somebody, that person has to be a registered voter.
Okay.
So somebody who's younger than 18, obviously they can't register to vote because they're not old enough yet. Yeah. So it has to be somebody who's registered to vote.
Okay, perfect. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? You kind of covered every question that I had without even me asking some of the questions.
I guess I would say one thing to know is that we have had an incredible turnout already so far this year. We've seen, and this is because of the pandemic. We asked people to vote through the mail if they could. People have been doing that. I was just looking at the numbers yesterday. We have over 285,000 accepted absentee ballots in the county already. And to give you some context, in the last presidential election in 2016, for that whole election, we only had 202,000 absentee ballots in that election. So we already have more absentee ballots for this election than we had in 2016. We have also seen a lot of people registering to vote. We have more people registered to vote in Hennepin County right now than we ever have had before. So we're at historically high voter turnout. We have seen historically high absentee voting. So I am expecting that we will have overall pretty high turnout in this election. So I hope everybody that is watching right now is excited to vote. And if you haven't already, join your neighbors because everybody in Hennepin County is voting.
Exactly. Yeah, we are looking forward to do that. This voting is going to be a great change for our country, US. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, you answered all the questions, unless I missed anything. Valerie, you have any question for Ginny?
Yes, yes. So, okay, there is not actually a cutoff. There is not a deadline after which the deadline is the day before the election. Okay. Now, the reality is, of course, if you don't apply for a ballot to be mailed to you until the day before the election, you're not going to have time to get that ballot in the mail and back to us. So, what I recommend is definitely you still have time. I would recommend if you have plenty of time. So if you give yourself at least a week, give yourself at least a week. It takes, about a day or two for especially if you apply online. The best way to apply for a ballot, you can send in a paper application to our office, but it's a lot quicker if you do it online. So if you go to the Secretary of State's website, again, that's mnvotes.org, and you fill out your application there. It takes us about a day to process that application. Takes a few days to get that ballot in the mail to you, and then you take some time to vote it and a few days for that ballot to get back to us. So give it about a week. So if it gets closer to election day, say the last week of this month, and you still haven't requested a mail ballot, at that point, that's when I suggest thinking about making a plan to vote early or vote in the polling place on election day.
All right. That sounds like a plan. Valerie, was that all? Well, this was a quick short today, just covering about voting and how to go about it with the safety of COVID-19 and how to do what you're supposed to do and the documentation that you need. And I do really appreciate Jeannie being with us today at Dose of Reality. Thanks once again. And I hope I will have you again talking about a different topic or any other subject. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. And you guys have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. Bye, Val.
Bye-bye.
Mhm.